All right, so our recording has started. And again, I want to welcome you to the Leesburg Public Library. My name is Elaine Kelly. I am one of the instructors here at the library. I usually teach a number of the technology classes. Previously, this year, I've taught with Microsoft Word. We just completed a class with that of how to create a cookbook. I do the Microsoft PowerPoint, which we're going to be doing a project today, which is our travel album. And coming up, we're going to be talking about Excel. So next month, we have an Excel class, which is all about a habit tracker. So right, perfect in time for those New Year's resolutions that we try to get ourselves ready for and build into our routine all of these new items that we want to try. As well as the month following that, we're going to be doing again with Excel all about a budget on that particular software. So these are very specific projects that we're designed to do with our Microsoft Outlook, our Microsoft Office package, excuse me. And today we're going to be doing the travel album, and you should have received in your inbox an email that has all of the materials that we're going to be using for today's class. You should have 3 files attached. One is a copy of the template, okay, that you can download, and this will be the one that we are going to be updating. All right, it's going to look, the front page is going to look like this. All right, the second thing that you would have received would be a copy of PowerPoint slides that I'm going to be going over, and that's going to, and I sent you just the PDF version that you're welcome to print if you'd like to, but you do have a copy of it for reference. And the last thing is going to be a very detailed sheet with all of the step-by-step instructions for any action that you may decide to do on your own personal travel album. And those are all for you, so you're welcome to copy them and have them at the ready if you'd like. As I conduct all of my classes, I welcome any sort of question that you may have as we go along, because if you're thinking it, odds are someone else is also thinking that same area. So you're welcome to interrupt me as I go along, to whether it be if you want me to repeat something or if you don't understand what I'm doing. But please just let me know and we'll keep going on that. All right. So what I'm going to be doing first, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go into my PowerPoint. I'm just going to talk about travel albums in general. So give me just a second to start this. All right, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you, Donna. All right, so today we're talking about creating a travel album. And this image right here, it's off of my flyer. We would love to be able to create something as dynamic as what you see on that screen. And it's very easy to accomplish using the template that I've supplied to you. What we're going to talk about today is I'm going to give you a real brief overview of the difference between a photo book and a photo album. You may hear these terms kind of interchangeable, but there is a very distinct difference between them. And you need to be aware that, especially if you're intending upon going to a professional service to be able to either create one or to print your travel album at the end, at the conclusion of your project. We'll go through the different elements of your album, and then we're actually going to get into the template itself. We're going to work our way through that. And if we don't get to the end, I do have on the end of this particular slideshow some printing tips of what to use. All right, so some definitions. What is a photo book? It does not lie flat. This is similar to what you would have from a high school yearbook. Okay, if you're thinking of that, in that it doesn't lie flat, it opens up like a book. You have a binding there in the center, but the pages are still rounded there in the middle. So what you have are the pictures, but they don't go all the way into the center portion of the page. It's a traditional book feel, and there's multiple pages of it. As you know, with yearbooks, you can easily go something that's very, very slender to something that is fairly thick and with a number of pages in there, depending upon how much they decided to print that year. It can be fairly lightweight. Why? Because of the paper that is contained inside there. And the surface cover can either be a soft cover or it can be a traditional hard cover. What is a photo album? This is the contrary side of it. All right, this is a live flat book. And as you see there in the image there, you actually see it. It's completely flat. The pages are completely open. And the advantage that you have there is that the picture can actually be spread out over both pages with very little difference down the center of it. So as you see here, you have a wedding photo, and it can be big, you know, all the way to the size of either side of those two pages together, and it covers the entire area. It is very heavy. Why? Because the photos themselves are mounted on a substrate, and that substrate could have some fairly decent heft to it because it's designed to be very sturdy. It's designed to be an heirloom, so it's there for archival purposes. But because that it is, you only put a select number of pages in there because of these substrates, all right, it's a very small page count. So let's kind of go through some of the options, because again, if you decide to go to a professional service to try to create a photo album for you, all right, you're going to have to know these differences yourself. All right, for a photo album, the paper is just a traditional photo paper. It would be similar to what you and I would buy at an office supply store if we were going to be printing our images out on photo paper there at home. Usually has a luster sheen, but it does contain a UV coating. Contrary to what you and I would do if we were at our home and printing off on our own personal computer, we would not be able to apply that UV coating. Again, photo album is designed for archival purpose. So that's why they have that particular type of paper in there, as well as the coating. A photo book, you have the option of very different sort of sheen on the particular image. If you look, you see the 4 images there. You have what's called a live flat, a pearl, a linen, or a semi-gloss. And as you go down the list there, you see that it becomes a lot more reflective of the light. The other advantage that you have with the photo book is that you're able to write on it fairly easily. Again, think of a yearbook, all right? When you write all those nice little comments and sayings there to various classmates, teachers, that sort of thing. It was very easy to write inside of a yearbook. The paper is designed to absorb the ink from a pen or a Sharpie. On the construction, on a photo album side, your photo again is mounted on a stiff substrate. All pages are inserted into a decorative cover, and you have an heirloom appeal. All right, so on the exterior, that could be leather, it could be a hard cardboard, it could be something of a different nature, but it's designed to sit on your shelf or your coffee table and actually be out on display. A photo book, the photo is printed directly onto the paper, and the papers are bound together in a chosen way. Some of them are actually like folded papers in half, and then you see like a thread come through there and it kind of holds it together. Other ones are just strictly a one page like this, and they're just stacked back and forth with a glue holding the center there, and it depends on your binding as to how you want to keep it together. All right, for number of pages, the photo album, you're very limited because of the thickness of the substrate. All right, those very large albums that you could possibly get, they're usually about legal size, or if anything, a little bit larger than that. You can probably only get maybe about 20 to 25 actual pages inside of there just because of the weight. A photo book, you are allowed to put as many as you want there. It's really depending upon the type of binding that you choose, as well as a price point. All right, the finished product, there you see one on the left there for a photo album. It's very heavy, it's thick, and it's a coffee table book. The price point for these are very, very expensive. Compared to a photo book, you may have something there that may start you at about $20. A photo album usually comes up to be much higher than that, if not depending upon how many pages that you put together and all of your finishes that you choose, it could be upwards of $100. And again, that's just strictly to kind of give you some ideas. When you look out there on websites, they will distinctly talk to you about a photo book or a photo album. So you need to keep those differences in mind, especially if you're going to be doing some costumes for yourself. Some final thoughts on the design of it. Both formats do have a sense of permanence, okay? Meaning that once you place a photo into a particular spot, it's kind of locked into position. Now, what I'm going to be showing you is the way that we can manipulate everything around. But once you try to put your album together, you're usually kind of, that's where I want to have it. And when I hit print, you're kind of set with that ability. There's no ability to add more to the book. Once it's printed, it's done. Once you create your photo album, if you do it on the substrate, it's done. Right? There's no ability to add more. Now, I do want to bring up the fact that there are what's called hybrid versions. All right. And this is one that instead of it being locked into a binding, it instead is in a 3-ring binder. Okay. And you still have your nice images that you have created on your sheets of paper. They could still be placed onto a substrate that's similar to a photo album, or it could be printed out as a photo book. But with the 3-ring binder, you have the ability to insert inside the areas, whether it be between pages or at the end, little pouches. And then that would allow you to store all of your collectibles. So for instance, when I would go on a trip, I might have a map of the city. I might have ticket stubs for a show that I might have seen while I was there. I might have postcards that I might have gathered at a gift shop. And those are, you know, with my pictures right now where I have, you know, collected them, but I don't have the ability to add into my photo album. I would love to have that opportunity to just have them with them, because here's all my memories. I'd love to have them in one place. So hybrid version may be something that you also may want to consider for yourself. And then that would also allow you to still be able to print according to your preferred method, but allow yourself the opportunity to keep all of your souvenirs together. All right, so how do you start your photo album? All right, step one, you want to think of your overall concept. So for instance, the image that I have here on your screen is a photo book. All right, it's one that we have here in our collection, and it's designed to talk about the Great Lakes. And inside of this, there are all sorts of images as well as some poetry about life in the Great Lakes area. So that would be what you would have your theme. You may have ones for a very specific trip. Prior to the class starting, Donna had mentioned that she had been on some wonderful trips to Italy, Rome specifically, as well as Poland. Your photo album could be one for Italy and one for Poland. Or it could be about your family in general. It could be all about, like in my case, the Kelly family. It depends upon what you'd like to get together, but definitely have an idea in your head as to what the theme is that you'd like to have. All right, consider your page size. All right, if I was going to be printing it out on my home computer, I'm already set with an 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to be perfectly happy with that. If you're thinking about something bigger, if you have the opportunity or ability to print on larger sheets of paper, whether it be legal or even bigger, 11 by 17, all right, so you have a lot more area that you can use there, and you could be able to position your pictures a little bit easier, as well as when you do print, remember that they're going to be enlarged. The number of pages, professional templates, if you do go out to a service, will lock you into a certain number of pages. There's no more ability for you to add more to it, simply because that's the amount that they can have to still be able to deliver you either the book or the album that you've chosen. Getting an idea also of what sort of your binding method would be. If it's going to be in a 3-ring binder, all right, you're going to be having to have something that has the three holes punched into it, or You can use a very archival sort of sheet protector that would also be able to preserve your images if you're printing at home. Those are able to be purchased directly from an office supply store. So keep in mind, you may need to look on their website and actually call out the specific item there. They may not have it actually on the shelf for you. All right, so investigate your pricing is my suggestion for you as a step 2, especially if you're going to go out and make a number of these copies for family or friends. How many books are you envisioning? Is there going to be any delivery method or shipping costs associated with it? So for instance, if I was going to send something to my brother in North Carolina, okay, what is the size of this book? Can I put it into a standard pouch, packet, whatever? And what would be my estimated shipping costs? And add that all together just so you have an idea. I'm notorious for starting a project and getting so enamored with it that you want all the bells and whistles, but when it comes down to the end and I start to price it, it's like, wow, this is astronomical. I probably should have scaled this back. Kind of get a general idea for yourself. I hate for you to get discouraged by something strictly by the cost of something. And keep in mind that if you do decide to go with a professional service, you will need to make decisions on the paper type, the paper finish, and a cover selection. All the things that we discussed a little bit earlier, you need to make those decisions up front before you can even start putting in any photos. And then with these 2 steps, you have your scope and your budget established and you can begin. All right, so you've made this decision, you've got your theme set, you've kind of got some ideas of how you're going to proceed. What should you then do? Set a schedule for yourself, especially if you're planning on using this particular project as a Christmas gift, okay? Right now it's December 2nd, all right, Christmas is coming up fairly rapidly, or whatever holiday celebration that you're planning on having. You need to get prepared and you need to have that opportunity to make revisions, as well as get it to a printer if you don't have a printer at home. So if you're going to be collecting information from family members, friends, travel partners, whomever, you want to send a notice to that individual and state what documents or files that you want to receive from them. In this particular case, you want images. You would love to have any sort of comments from them concerning the trip, state me what they loved about it, what they hated about it, because those little bits of commentary that you would space into your travel album makes it a little bit more personal. People can understand what you were kind of going through. Set a date for your submission, meaning that you want to tell them, I need to get all of your info by this particular date because you need to start assembling it together. You can always get back with them with very specific questions after this point, but you definitely need to have your first influx of information to be received by the date you set. Be prepared to offer suggestions because sometimes people have a multitude of images on their home computers and they just may not know what they want to actually ask you for. All right, so sometimes they may actually send you the actual image, okay? And what I would suggest that you do is go ahead and preserve it digitally. All right, our phones have wonderful apps now that you can actually load onto them, usually for free, and you would be able to actually scan these images so it would come right in as an image file, and then you'd be able to insert it into your travel album. But make sure that you can do that because these apps that we have on our phones now are great. They can do color corrections. They can take old imagery, just like you see here on the screen, and colorize it based on what they can kind of tell. And you can always say, don't do this color, change it to here, and really be able to recreate the settings with today's technology. All right. You have some options to choosing templates if you decide not to use the one that I supplied you here today. There's a lot that are subscription-based. I've given you an option right there from Envato Elements. There are others out there, but I do want to caution you. I want to make sure that when you do look through the sample PowerPoint templates that are out there, that you try not to choose one that's business related. All right, they'll have all sorts of graphs on them. They'll have the ability to add just plain text. But it's really designed for business presentation versus what our objective is to actually to try to create a photo album. Microsoft does have some free templates. We're actually going to use one of theirs because it's the best one that I found out there. I do scrutinize all of the ones that I find to try to get the best one for our needs. But Microsoft does have a variety of them that may have a little bit more similar, like what you see in the photo there, of more like Polaroids, all right? And they can go up like on chalkboard. So it's really dependent upon what you want to have in your background and how you want to present your photo. We're going to do something that's going to look very classic and very professional. All right, we're going to be doing a lot today with using a mouse. The instructions that I've given you will get you through all of the clicks as we use through the ribbon. But just recognize, because each one of you are familiar with PowerPoint to start with, that the left mouse button is all action oriented. You're telling the system to do the action that you're specifying versus the right mouse button, which is to give you some additional options. You may feel more comfortable with using the right button. Go ahead if you do. If not, the instructions that I'm giving you and that I will walk you through will be everything off of the ribbon. All right, so I'm going to stop my slideshow at this particular point, and we're actually going to go over to our template and start updating it. So I'm going to stop my share, and then I'm going to bring in my templates. And again, as we start walking through this, please feel free, if you have any questions, to go ahead and ask, and we'll make sure that we cover those. All right, this particular template is designed for whether it be a classic photo album that you can actually mount onto the substrate, or you can just directly print and be able to bind it together as a photo book. It's your option of which way that you would like to do it, but each way it comes out very classy looking. It's just a question of how you want to update it. Now, I know the first thing you think of when you see this is that this is very, very gray, okay? This is just their suggestion, and you're welcome to change the color of it. So the first thing I do want to show you is how to change the background color if you so desire. I do suggest that you go ahead and you put your images in first, just to be able to see how well they pop on a dark background, and then make changes appropriately after that fact, because you may think that you want to have a certain color, and you find that all of your images that you're putting into this template clash with that particular color that you had originally in mind. So having the photos already in does help you. But let me go ahead and show you how to update the color here. So what I've done is I've got here. Hold on here. I've lost my mouse. There we go. What I've done is I have updated the color of my mouse. You should see it here kind of rolling in a circle immediately to the left of my slide here on the screen. And that should help you try to keep following my mouse clicks as I go through the system. All right, so to update our background color here. All right, hold on here. I keep losing my mouse and I'm not sure why. All right, I'm going to come over here off my ribbon. I clicked on the design tab up at the top of your screen, and I have my format button over there on the far right hand side. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click that. I'm going to move this down here a little bit. Having a technical difficulty here because I cannot see where my mouse is. So let's see here. Bear with me, I'm going to stop my share for just a second. I'm going to try to get rid of some of my PowerPoints. I might have too many open. So let's try this again. Okay, yeah. Now I can get it. Now you should be able to see my cursor a little bit better. I just had too many PowerPoints open. My apologies. All right, so I clicked on the design tab here on the top of my screen, and I clicked on format background here on the very far right of my ribbon, and I get this pick list here on the immediate right-hand side. All right. So this is if we want to go ahead and we want to change the background to an image. Okay, so for instance, I would love to have on the background of my cover page a picture. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click picture right here. It's going to take it. There we go. All right, it defaults to fill in with a texture. Don't worry about it. Don't panic. All right, I'm going to change it right now. Immediately below 1, 2, 3, below where we had clicked on picture, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on file. I have a pop-up that appears on my screen that allows me to look inside of my computer to find the images that I'm looking for. So I'm going to find the directory where I have my images here. Now, right now it defaults to all of the items that are listed by the names of how I had created them or downloaded them, but I can't see what they look like. If this ever happens to you and you'd like to have more of a description, because I know that when we have our travel pictures all assembled, we have a lot of them to choose from. So how can I do this so I can see which one I'm looking at? All right, this upwards here on the top of my screen, I have the option of, if I keep clicking in the downward arrow, of increasing these things to be very large icons. All right, it doesn't like it. We need to do that. So, but I can actually create one. And then this is from my from London. Okay, so I can actually put this to the back, and this would be my background. Now, yes, it looks very, very dark at this point. So what can I do? All right, this is going to be one of the tricks that I'm going to show you how to make your item appear similar to one of the very professional photo books that we can find here in either the library or for sale. All right, I want to tone this down. Okay, I still have my image. You can either do it by one of two ways. You can either auto-correct the coloring of the image, or you could transfer, create a difference with the transparency. If you look over here on the far right side, you see the transparency that you can toggle from 0 to a particular percentage. Or I can darken it. And this is where I want to show you how to darken an image. All right, so I'm going to click on Insert here. So I've changed my tabs up on the top. We'll click Insert. I'm going to do a shape. I'm going to choose a rectangle. All right, you see that mouse has changed to a little plus symbol instead of the arrow. And I'm going to create a box. Take it down over everything. All right, now you see in this particular case, I extended it beyond the edges of the slide. Why? Because I'm using it as a background cover. So I want to cover the entire slide with it. If it was just one individual slide, then you would just do it for just that particular space on the site, okay? But right now it defaults to blue, no worries, okay? Once I put this in and I released it to the size that I want, you're going to see up here on the top of your screen a new tab called Drawing Tools. It should automatically open for you, but if it doesn't, just go ahead and click on it so you can get this new set of ribbon right here. All right, now these options here are from the default color list associated with this gray theme that we'll talk about how to update in just one more second. But these are some of the other options that you have. And if you want to see even more, click on this word that says shape fill. There it goes. All right, and see here's these same image, same colors here as you see here, but you'll see them with very different shades inside of here. And if you just hover with your mouse on top of one of them without clicking it, you can actually experiment with some colors there. Now, because I want to darken my background theme, all right, I'm going to choose one here under the black shade, okay? So I'm going to choose this, not the darkest shade, which is this, but one just above it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. Now, yes, now I have a big black blob sitting there on my screen. No worries, okay? Because what I want to do is I want to make it transparent. So I'm going to come over here to this menu here on the right, and I'm going to slide the bar. You see that it's how it's kind of, the picture behind it is kind of coming into appearance.
Yes.
But if I darken it, so I leave it roughly, let's say 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can use the up and down bars just to create that exact number if you want. But now I have this nice dark image. Okay, what do I gain by this? When I come up here and I adjust my photo album title, you're going to see it pop on here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click to get off of this editing format. I'm going to go ahead and you can just click anywhere on the outside of the screen. Okay, and anything off the slide, and you'll see that it stops having the little circles on that particular box that we just created. If you have the little circles, that means that it's been made active. All right. PowerPoint talks everything about layers. Okay, so once you put something in, you're putting something on top of it, you're putting something on top of that, and going on forward. So this particular square that we just put in to darken our background photo, our background is the farthest level away from us. Okay, we put this square on top of it, but it covered up all of the original things that were already proposed to us. It offered us the opportunity to just do an image here. It also had a title that was already there, as well as click to add date and other details if you wanted to. So we want to actually put this dark square right on top of our background image and then leave these other things on top of it. So we actually want to reverse our order as to how to put this square in. So how do we do that? I'm going to go ahead, taking my mouse, and I'm going to click one time right on top of the square that I just put in there. And again, you see here's my little circle dots, circle dots. It's going to be one down in each corner and one along each edge. Again, my drawing tools tab appeared, and we have various different options here. Towards the right-hand side, we have something called bring it forward, send it backwards, okay? So right now, it's on top of everything. We want to send it back. So if I say send backward, we saw this picture pop out, all right? But we haven't seen our titles or anything, so I'm gonna click it again. And there's our titles that came into play, all right? So what this allowed is this title to actually come and become even more prominent, but we have a real nice image back here of what we might want to have or showcase about our trip. So if I wanted to make our title a little bit better, a little bit bolder, to adjust that, I just click on anywhere on it with my left mouse button. And here's, it's defaulted to this font style as well as the size text. If you'd like to update what that would look like, To highlight the item, because you want to change the entire thing, I click here on the very first, before the first letter. And if I bring my cursor here to the end of M of album, it's kind of hard to see with my image behind there. If I hold down my shift key and tap the M, the space at the other on the right of the M, I actually highlight the entire title. For some people who don't have a lot of strength there with the mouse, that is a very good way that you can still highlight everything, but without having to click, hold down, and then drag across. All right, but right now we have our title completely highlighted here. So if we wanted to update it, I'm going to go up to the top of my screen. I'm going to hit my home tab. And my ribbon is displayed here. And this gives me a lot of information here about my font. My font group is right here, roughly around a third of the way across to the right of the ribbon. And it's defaulted right now to the Century Schoolhouse with a 32 size font. If I wanted to increase the size of that, if I click that downward arrow, I do have some other options here. I could go up to 36, a 40, even a 44 if I'd like. Kind of like the looks of the 40, just because it kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. If I wanted to change the color of the item, in this same grouping up here on the top, under the font group, we have this little letter A with a line underneath of it. If I click to the little downward facing arrow immediately to the right of it, I have all sorts of options. And again, the standard theme colors that they're offering here is what has been designed for this particular album at this present moment. And again, I'll show you how to update that in just 1 second. Just bear with me. All right, but these are some options. Right now, it is on the lightest of gray. Say you want to change it to a yellow. All right, so again, I'm just putting my mouse over top of that particular color. And if you look on the slide itself, you saw it update to yellow. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's just an option for me to play with. The yellow kind of pops out a little bit. All right, here's more of a lavender sort of shade. Here's green. These seem to kind of, based on the image that I have in the background, kind of flow into it a little bit more than I like. The white, though, does pop. So if I was going to keep it, I would change it from the gray to maybe the white, only because I really want that title to pop out. So as you can see, my title page is really starting to come together. Now, a lot of the, as a standard template that you would have in PowerPoint, which I'm sure you're all aware of, it gives you these text boxes that prompt you as to what you want to put inside of here. It's your option if you want to click or add any details or anything like that. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click right on it. So all you have to do is just put your mouse right on the word click. All right, it comes up here and it's prompting you. You see our blinking cursor is immediately there on the right-hand side of our box. And that's only because that's how it's been identified to do that. If you want to switch to the center, up here again on the top of your screen under the Home tab, under our paragraph grouping, you see right here it is defaulted to align right. We could change it to center if we wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and want to leave it to the right just because it follows the same format as what's on there. So let's just call it Elaine's. Oops. Travel. I'm going to call it a book. This could easily be London. It could be, we could add a year. However you would like to have it entitled. To get off of this, all you have to do is click anywhere here off the side of this slide there. So now what we have a background picture on our cover page. I have a dark overlay. I have my title enlarged just slightly because I wanted it to really be there. And then I just have a little bit of information of Elaine's travel book. Now, in the template, they supplied you this image here. If you wanted to, instead of doing a background image, actually use that, all you would do, or if you wanted to change that image, you would just click on it and hit change image. But I don't want it on my cover, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete it. I'll show you how to change an image on one of our later slides, but I wanted to just show you really how to do this because I really think that a cover page should pop. So I'm just going to click on this image here that they provided as a placeholder. So when I click on it with my left mouse button, you see the little circles come here, right? That means that it's been made active. And so what I want to do is I want to delete it. So all I'm going to do on my keyboard, I want to hit my delete button. Now, if you want to actually remove the whole place center, you click again, but you have to click it on the edge. Then we hit it again, delete. Normally, you don't have to do that if you were just creating a slideshow yourself from scratch. But with templates, sometimes when they have those sorts of images presented to you on the slide, you may need to do a double delete, only because when they've created the template, they're assuming with the first delete that you just want to update the image and keep the position. You have to click it a second time to actually delete the whole element. And it's just the criteria of using a template. So right now, what we have, this would be my cover of what the photo album would look like. So we've got the background image, we've got an overlay of a dark image on top of it there. So all my colors still pop out, but it's just been minimized to the background. I have, and on top of that, I have my title as well as my subtitle of Elaine's Travel Book 2020. So everything is building in layers. Everybody good on that particular one?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to slide 2. Along the left-hand side of your screen, you see the options available to you for the other slides that are in this particular template. And these are suggestions for different sorts of layouts that you can use. If you'd like something different, I'm going to show you how to insert a slide. So I want to put one between my slide 1 and my slide 2. So I'm going to actually click the space between these two right here on the left-hand side. And now I have a little red line visible right here. And that's going to tell the software program that I want to insert something. So on my home tab, I have a new slide. So if I click the downward facing arrow, if I just click new slide, it would default to the slide that it would be requesting the software would select. I don't want to do that. I want to select the layout myself. So there's a downward facing arrow immediately to the right of the word slide. If I click on that, I see all sorts of layouts available to me. And these are all designed for photo albums, photo books, placement of imagery for you. You can have, for instance, 3 pictures side by side with some ability to add some text underneath. You have 3 images here on this one, but you have an image, you can add the text above and below each image. You have a set of 4. So you can see there you have a lot of different options available to you as to what you would like to choose. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to select this one, 3 mixed up. So once I choose my layout, this is what would show for you. All right, where you would have click icon to add picture, and this should be relatively familiar to you if you've used PowerPoint in the past. All right, so if I clicked on, and the key to using the template is not to click anywhere inside of the box, but to actually click on the icon. So you saw where my cursor changed from my arrow with my little plus sign to when I actually hovered it over the icon, you see it change to pink. Okay, so if I click on that, my little pop-up window appears and I'm able to identify a different picture. So let's do St. Paul's Cathedral. Okay. So it automatically fills in. It kind of assumes how you want to fill it at this point. If you wanted to change anything, you would be able to update it. Now, if you ever want to resize a picture, I want to tell you this because a lot of people end up doing something a little bit different. If you ever want to resize a picture, you grab from the corners and not the sides. Okay. If I do a corner, I put it with my left mouse button and I hold it down. Okay. And then I drag it towards the center to decrease the size, or I drag it outward to increase it. If I instead had grabbed the side, clicked and held it with my left mouse button, you see how it distorts the image?
Yeah.
All right. You may not want that. No, sometimes you may have an image that you do want to do it, but I do not recommend it. You really want to keep it at the same perspective as to what you had before. So if you ever do that accidentally up here on the top of your screen, all right, there's an undo button. It looks like a counterclockwise arrow. If you can just click that, let's see if it'll do it. There you go. It should come back. There we are. All right, so that's just a real quick thing in there of how to size the picture. But let's go back to this gray background. We really want to try to do something a little different with that. So what I did is I just clicked on the background itself just to kind of think of, get it off of this being active, because you saw the little dots disappear. All right, so here's this background. So I'm going to go back to my design tab. All right. And I'm going to, here under this block right here, it looks like it's blank. Okay, it's under variants. Okay, design tab. And then you see over here on the ribbon, the variants group. Okay, it looks blank. Trust me, it's not. But I'm about to show you where it is. There's going to be a little line, an arrow with a line on top of it. It's very small. I do apologize about that. Usually when I work on PowerPoint, I do have it in large simply because, you know, hey, I got bifocals myself. I need help to see this stuff. But if I click on this particular button, okay, I have some options here. First one being colors. So if I actually click on the word color, all right, here are all of the suggested color palettes that they have prearranged. Now, these are elements that if you select one, your item, you know, all the other colors are very complementary to it without you having to actually customize and create your own set of things. So the guesswork is out of it. So which is a great feature of it. So if you take your mouse, and again, I'm just kind of scrolling it down the list, okay, not selecting anything, but just kind of seeing what the effect would be. All right. You see as I keep scrolling down with my cursor, you see behind the screen, the slide is updating with the different colors. So this is why I said it really would be helpful if you had your images already inserted into it to see what complemented it. Because like, for instance, this blue picked up the blue in the windows of the St. Paul's Cathedral. All right. However, another image strip that I may have over there may not have that blue inside of there. So you want to look for something that's a little bit more complementary. This green looks nice. All right. It's not a big difference from the gray, but it's nice and soft and neutral. That might be something that you're interested in. And so if you clicked on that color scheme, then all of the default colors would be all these greens, yellows, and blues that you see along this same line. So again, the guesswork is taken out from you as to what would be very complementary on the color scheme that's chosen. If you wanted to actually create your own, down here at the bottom, it does have customized colors, and then you would be able to pick and choose the ones that you would want. But that would be how you would update it from the gray that you see in the background. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it here on the gray. So to get off of this color scheme without making any change, I just bring my mouse over here to the side of the slide. And I just click anywhere there, and I'm back to my original colors with no change. But I do want to show you how to change that gray color if you're really not enamored with it into something else, or you can use this particular one. All right, so let me go ahead and add 2 more pictures. Um, Big Ben. And let's go ahead and put. All right, now say I've got these 3 images here on my screen, and I realize, all right, here's Parliament with Big Ben. Here's a close-up of Big Ben, but I've got St. Paul's Cathedral right here, and this is really not what I want to have. I'd like to have prefer a grouping here, all kind of centered around Big Ben. So I'm going to click on my St. Paul's Cathedral one to make it active. So here's my little dots. I clicked on it once with my left mouse button. All right, and up here on the top of my screen, all right, I have to minimize it just slightly, just because my controls for Zoom are covering up that area. Whoops. All right, I've lost it now. Hold on for just 1 second. Stop my share. Come back on. Apologize for that, but my mouse is not reacting very well today. All right, so if I have it here, I have my picture tools tab displayed here. And over here, let's see, my color corrections. This one should be, okay. Right now, because my screen is minimized, all right, this a second one here under my adjust group, okay, it says change picture. If I click on that, a pop-up will appear. And this one's going to look a little bit different than the other ones that we've had to be able to find our imagery. Usually it defaults into a pop-up that says, where is it in my computer? This one here is assuming that you could replace it with anything from anywhere. So you're going to have the option, you have to tell the system, do you want to go from a file on your computer, or do you want to do a Bing search where you're looking out on the internet for it, or if you have something stored on the cloud, which is your OneDrive. All right, because I want to go to a file on my computer, I'm going to click the first one that says from a file. And then the pop-up gets replaced with a very familiar menu item that we've seen here, which is to direct it where on my computer that I need to find. All right, so let's see if I've got another one here. I really don't have another one with my Big Bens. So I'm just going to leave it with my London Bridge. See what that looks like. All right, so this way I have something that looks very similar to all 3. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to maximize my screen again, so that way we get a little bit closer. I apologize for having to minimize that, but unfortunately my controls for Zoom are overlaying right on top of my tabs on the top of my screen. So it gets a little difficult for me to be able to show you where you need to click as we go through this. Okay, so whoops, I've changed my slide. All right, so now I have 3 that are very similar. Again, we're not locked into the placement of these photos. We're not locked into the size of these photos. All the system does is it automatically adjusts based on the orientation of the original photo layout that you took with your camera, and just presents it to you as you would see it if you were just looking through a photo reel. We can easily size these to the larger size, just like I showed you. I click on it to make an active photo active. I have my little dots. All right, I grab my corner and I release it. All right, so I made this one nice and big. And to click and drag, you can actually drag it around the screen. So if I click on this one here with the Parliament and Big Ben to make it active, all right, I'm going to grab this bottom corner one, and I'm going to make it a little smaller. Oh, actually, it's moving right now. Yeah, this mouse is not making me happy. You have some options that you can actually leave some white space in between your images that allows them to speak all of themselves, or it could be just like we had before, where it overlays on top of it. And yes, it does cut off a portion of the image below it, but you do, if it's an area that doesn't have a lot of importance to you, having this just a white frame around here also gives you that illusion of white space that could also make each one of these things pop. If we wanted to add a title here, help if I spelled it right. All right, now you see here that our text box is right here, but we see our little dots are going to be extended over here. If you want to change the size of your text box, just grab one of these little dots and bring it back. Now, because I grabbed a side, it's going to actually shrink it here, but with no change in placement. If I instead had grabbed a corner one and brought it down, everything would have downsized appropriately. And that could also mean that it changes the size of your text, so be very careful with that. Oops. There we go. All right, so now you have your pictures laid out on here. And again, you have the option of making one a little bit darker if you wanted to, using the same format that we did before. But this just has a layout, and you saw how you can also change the image if you don't like the one that you had on there. Just keeping in mind that you'll have a different pop-up first displayed to you. Just say find a file and be able to go from there. I'm going to go on to my next slide. All right, so over here on the third one, I'm going to click on number 3. So I have a different option here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to click on it. I'm going to minimize my screen for just a second, just so I can change the image, so I can see my new tab that came up here, Picture Tools. Oops. All right, here's my change picture option here. Here's the new pop-up from the file. And let's do Stonehenge. All right, so here's Stonehenge. All right, and again, you saw the image actually realign itself based on the format that I had originally taken. Now let me show you another graphic element that you may be interested in using. I'm actually going to show you two. One is sometimes with very high-end photo books, they add a graphic element behind the scenes, okay? This may be a square, it may be a circle, it may just be a rectangle, whatever, but it gives a shade of pop onto a slide. So it's going to be similar to what we had done before, which was adding a shape. So again, I'm going to have to minimize it just for a second. Do my insert button here. Just wanted to get that up there. I'm going to hit shapes and my rectangle. And again, I apologize for having to minimize my screen fairly often. It's really because the controls for Zoom hide a lot of my tabs, and I want you to make sure that you see those. All right, so after I hit shapes in my rectangle, you see my mouse has changed from an arrow to a plus sign. It's down here at the bottom, so you know where I am. Okay, and I'm actually going to create just the rectangle. Come on. All right, so it's just a rectangle here. Blue, as it was defaulting to. All right, so if I click on it, and my drawing tools tab is now here, but it wasn't activated. My home tab is still available. So I'm going to actually click on my drawing tools. So I get my options here. So that was a real good thing to see, that sometimes it doesn't actually default over onto that tab. You actually have to click on it. So you want to go to your drawing tools. All right. This one right up top here was this shape fill. I'm going to click that. Here's my default colors that coordinate very well with my gray background. Let's go ahead and just keep it bold with this gold accent right here in the center. Now it's very solid looking, okay? Not a problem. Again, over here on my right-hand side, here's my menu here for my format, but here's my transparency. So if I kind of back it down just a little bit, maybe like 20%, maybe 25. Okay. And keep in mind that the lower the number is, the darker it ends up appearing, because 0 means that you want to keep the original color, which is just a solid black. The higher your number you have on your transparency means that the more that you can see through. All right, so I just want to keep it here. All right. Again, this is something that is over top of my text here, so I want to move it back just a little bit. So I'm going to click on it one more time, and I'm going to say send backwards. All right. So right now our text then pops out. Whoops. So if I want to erase all of it, let's do sample text. Okay. Kind of came down here because that's where it starts. I'm going back over to my image. Just kind of resize it just a little bit. All right. And now I've got my image nice and big, but I've got this graphic element behind here. A lot of your photo books do have that sort of feature, that it doesn't cover the background of the photo, but what it does is it just creates a little bit of a color pop. It's very good to have against a solid background. It highlights an image really, really well. So for instance, this yellow ended up definitely taking out some of the yellow that I have here in the sunset behind Stonehenge. That's an option that you may want to continue adding. I would make that decision if you want to add it as something at the end. All right. Now, I've decided as I've kind of gone through here that I'd really like, because I want to know what page numbers I'm on. So if I was going to share this with somebody else, what page would I be there? So how do I go ahead and actually insert a page number on this particular item or on all of my pages. Up here on the top on your insert button, your insert tab, go ahead and click that. And then over here underneath the text box in the ribbon, okay, we have slide number. All right, you can either click here or you can click header and footer, but it'll be the same sort of thing because here it comes up, the pop-up even says header and footer. And you have some options that you can actually put here. Date and time is if you were going to say today's date, that you updated it, you created it, you put it together. You could put that there if you'd like to. The times that I've seen that to be of use would only be for business presentations or if you were doing something for schoolwork. For the project that you're doing right now, I would recommend that you do leave that off. Here's your slide number here. So I would go ahead and I would click this box here. That's going to say add a slide number to it. If I wanted to add something else in the footer area, okay, I could click this and add it here. So if you wanted to do a repeat of your title, okay, Classic Photo Album or Elaine's Travel Book 2020, this could also then be repeated on every single page going forward. You may want it, you may not, but I at least want to be able to point that out to you. The other box I would suggest that you click here before you get off of this pop-up screen is this other box down here, don't show on the title page. All right, I would prefer not to see a page number on my title cover. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click that. So now I have just the slide number clicked and don't show on the title slide. And I want to say apply to all. If I just hit apply, it would only apply to this one slide only. If I apply to all, that means every one of them is going to follow this and it's going to be appropriately numbered. So let me move the imagery of us a little bit. Okay, and you now see down here on the bottom of the page is now labeled as 3. If we come back to our prior slide, here's 2. All right, I'm going to go on to slide 4, where it has 3 suggested here. Now, 3, sometimes you'll see in photo books, you'll see a background image versus the solid darkness that we see here. So if we wanted to put a background photo in, we could put that there. I would recommend that if you do decide to do that, is that you cover it with that dark square that we showed there at the very beginning. So it kind of fades it into the background. And then these elements here, you can retain these and they'll pop even more so against it. So as an example, let me go ahead and I'm going to change my background here to, let's say a countryside, but I'm going to leave these 3 as they are. Okay. So I'm going to my design. I'm going to format my background. So I have my design tab again, all the way over here to the far right of on my ribbon to format background. I'm going to add a picture. Again, do not panic because it defaults here to this texture pattern. All right, I want to click on File over here on the right-hand side. It's 3 lines below where we clicked on Picture. My pop-up comes up here where I'm identifying somewhere on my screen, on my computer, where to find it. So here's my countryside one. All right, so I have a countryside. Now, if I want to leave my images here in black and white, they still pop against it, but this color is really kind of overwhelming here. All right, now if I wanted to make it, let's say we just want to experiment with transparency, I can decrease it back, and you see how it kind of fades into the background with transparency. That may be the look that you're looking for. Or this back off. want to give you a lot of design options for yourself. So that way you would be able to determine yourself how you wanted to create your own travel album. So I'm going to put that black cover over it again. So here I'm going to hit insert in my shapes. I cover my entire slide. Again, it's going to come up blue, don't panic. I choose my dark gray, and I'm going to make my transparency. Leave it a little darker than what we had done on the travel one at the beginning. I'll leave it about 20%. All right, remember PowerPoint deals in layers. So my back layer is my background photo of the countryside. I want this one to be right on top of it, and I want all of these three pictures that we have displayed there, and my text to be on top of that dark shading. So I need to send this while it's still active with my little dots that indicates what I'm revising. I'm going to hit send backwards and keep clicking it until you see everything else pop out. So I'm going to click anywhere else over here on the outside of the slide. So now I've put a dark shade on my my landscape behind the scenes, and now I can actually put in here 3 images. Whether I leave them in black and white is up to me or to yourself. But these pop there, but these could be referenced by the landscape behind here. And again, this is something that you would see in one of those professional photo books. All right, I want to show you one other thing. So I'm going to come here. All right, let me change this picture here. Defaulted to my picture tab. So this is my new ribbon. Here's my change picture here under adjust. I'm going to say find from the file. And I'm just going to choose something here. Let's see here. This is not related to London, but it's just an imagery that I really like, which is just some horses here. Now, say you want to have similar to what you would have if we were going to create one at home. We may want a frame. We might want a frame, but we want to place it inside of here. Gives it another graphic element. All right. It's the exact same process as putting that dark overlay on top of an image. But in this case, we're not going to fill it in. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to hit insert. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to do one other thing. Say I want to change this layout of this particular slide. I really like these horses. I want them to be actually occupy the entire screen versus this small format that I want here. So I want to change the layout of this particular slide that I've got here. Under my home tab, all right, here we have under the slide group, we have new slide, but we also have now layout up here. If I click this downward facing arrow, here's all my layouts that come back up here. And this one here where it says landscape full screen, this is the one I truly want. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And you see now that it updated everything so now that my image is now full screen, okay? It's not a background slide, it's just full screen. So I can still change it just by clicking on it. All right, I'm going to take off my text box. So I'm just going to click on one of the edges. I'm going to hit delete. And again, how you delete this, you just click here on the edge of your text box, this little outline that you see here, and press delete. So now that's all completely off, and I just have this imagery of the horses. So now I'd like to put a little graphic frame around inside of here. I'm going to put insert. We're going to do our shapes again. Here's my rectangle. This time, instead of it going outside the slide, I'm going to keep it inside. All right, so now I have the box, but you kind of see it there. All right, roughly the position that I want. So what I want to do is I want to first take off the blue. Okay. Now, if your menu option is still available over here, you do have the option of actually adjusting it from here. You can actually click no fill over here on the right hand side. If you don't, just click on your shape fill option here. Let's see here. And right down here in the center of this little pick list, you see the options there are saying no fill. All right, so now you just see the outline here with the dots, but I want to put a line around the outside edge. I want to outline it. So instead, if I click Shape Outline, again, here under my Drawing Tools tab, right below where it says Shape Fill, I have Shape Outline. Okay, I choose the color. Again, here are the suggested colors that complement the color scheme that I've got, the theme. All right, let me get this nice gold color. We did that before. All right, so here's that nice gold. Now you see it's got a real nice outline and it totally pops the picture even more so. If you'd like the line to be a little bit thicker or thinner, okay, click on the line again. Let's see here. You're going to have to click directly onto your frame that you've just created. If you're over here on the right-hand side with this, if you click on the word line, you have width right here. You can actually increase it. You see how it's getting thicker? Or if you want to, you can go down a little bit and it becomes even thinner, but it's still the same gold color, but it just becomes an element. If you want to change it to a dash type, you can actually change it from over here from a solid to a dash. All right, so at this point, what you would like to do is you probably want to save it. Go ahead and save it as you would. If you were going to send it to a person, a friend, that sort of thing, you have the option of saving it and sending it to them as the PowerPoint itself, but they would see all of your edits over here and on the side of the page as they kind of scroll through it. The option that I would suggest that you save it to if you're going to share a PowerPoint program itself is instead do it as a PowerPoint slideshow. And then that way, all they see is if you were actually going to show it. So for instance, if I hit the word file up here on the top of my screen and to save it, so I could then email it to friends and family, I do save as. All right, it's going to ask you to pick a place. All right, I'll just do it in my documents for right now. All right, you're going to have your option come up here and where it's going to say, what do you want to save it as? Here's your name. But then you have right underneath it, save as type, PowerPoint presentation, PPTX. If you instead follow this line all the way over here to the right-hand side, click the downward facing arrow. You have all sorts of different options here, okay? One of them is the PowerPoint slideshow, which is the, let's see here. I think here it is, PowerPoint slideshow. It's a little ways down. You have to look for the names on these things real closely, but it ends in PPSX. And what that does is it saves all of your settings and everything but when they click on it, it will automatically open up into the slideshow as if you were going to present it to a group of people yourself, without all of the editing tools all the way around it. They can just scroll through as they would have that portion. If you were going to take your document to, let's say, Office Depot to have them print something for you, my recommendation is that I would save it both as a PPTX, your normal setting, or I would save it as a PDF file right up here on the top. So it'd be the fourth one down. They can definitely print a PDF file. They have the ability to read that and hit print from there. And that just kind of flattens everything out and makes it really good for them to print with. So I just want to make sure that I showed those to you to give you some options for yourself as you would take it from there. But right now I am not going to change anything, so I'm just going to hit cancel. So at this point, I want to throw the floor open to any questions that you may have about it. If you're interested in looking at what it kind of would look like when you actually hit print, I printed the first 3 pages out of the original template that we had. So what I'd have would be this one here. Let me make sure that I get this in the right screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my share here.
There we go.
All right, so it's going to look like this, okay, for a cover page. So you still get this little nice white border all the way around it. It's just by the fact of the way it does the printing, but you see your images come out very clear as well as your title. Here's your next page, just to kind of give you just an idea how well it prints just off of this template. It looks so similar to what you would get off of a professional photo book. And it was like, why spend the money for that? You know, save yourself some money. And then even here with our 3. Very professional looking, very attractive. I think you'd be very pleased with it. So at this point, can I answer any questions for you?
I think the proof's going to be in the pudding when we get going. Then the questions will come.
I'm sure. And I do, again, want to reiterate to you that as you run your, when you actually get into everything, if you run into any difficulties whatsoever, I am available for you. Just give me a call here at the library. Either myself or any staff member would be able to get you over an obstacle, but definitely ask for me and we'll work our way through that just so that way you know exactly what it is that you want to achieve on your slide there, and we'll make sure that that happens for you.
Oh, appreciate that.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll stop the recording. And all I can say is thank you very much for attending, and hopefully we'll see you in another one of my classes.
Thank you, Elaine. It was wonderful. Thanks so much.
Not a problem.